Hello and welcome to an Automobilista 2 video. It has finally come out as of last week for the backers of the project, those who have already pre-ordered. It's now in closed beta for them so they can test the game in a fairly limited fashion. At the moment it is just limited to free practice sessions and race sessions against AI. There's no multiplayer or leaderboards or time trial or career mode as of yet, and obviously various things are work in progress, so do keep that in mind as we go through this video. Obviously, with the game's release due within the next month or so, things are going to be changing as they get nearer to the game's release. So not everything that you see here is final. We may see some bugs. They should get squashed prior to the game's full release. Now, this is going to be a kind of an initial impressions. There's not quite a first impressions because I have driven with one car around one track, but this is my first time driving the stock car Brazil car around Imola. So yeah, first time driving this track in this car and first time doing this, obviously this combination. But being a Slightly Mad Studios developer, I'm obviously very familiar with the madness engine that Reza Studios are using here for AMS2, and I can see some similarities already in a number of things with the UI. This screen obviously here is kind of very much Reza, but there is some of, like, for example, the option screens are still very much kind of what we had in Project Cars 2. Obviously that could very well change in the future.
No sweat. You can do this.
So we'll get the car fired up, and one thing that you'll notice straight away is the lack of HUD, because that is work in progress. It was very minimal. You're not going to be able to see anything because the only HUD widget that I have is basically the light version of the tacho from Project Cars 2. So I've got a little rev bar. It shows my speed, my gear, how much fuel I've got, whether there's KERS or DRS available, which there isn't in this car, and then a little tyre icon widget as well. But where I'm playing in a 21:9 aspect ratio and recording in a 16:9 ratio, you're seeing a cropped version of what I see, and therefore can't see that HUD widget. But it's down there in the bottom right hand corner. So let's get ourselves out onto circuit then. And yeah, you'll probably see various different things that are very much kind of Project Cars 2. This is under manual control, as I've assigned a button for the limiter. Track IR implementation is working straight off the bat, and VR users will be very pleased to hear that that is also fully functioning as well. Obviously that was working absolutely brilliantly in Project Cars 2, and a lot of people were extremely happy with the VR implementation in Project Cars 2, and we were very proud with the work that we did for that. And with that being part of the madness engine, the Reza guys have that pretty much straight from the off. So VR support, you users are going to be extremely happy. Now, one other great thing about the madness engine is the graphics and the lighting. You got the full day and night cycle, we got the full live track, also all the various weather settings and everything. That's all here straight away working with the Reza guys. I imagine that they've made some tweaks to the live track settings. Obviously with Reza coming on board and using the madness engine, there has been communication between both dev teams to help the Reza guys get up and running. We've been giving them various different tutorials on how to use the tools, and kind of helping them out with various aspects of the code and things that they've basically wanted to dive into and tweak, all that sort of stuff. And obviously things that we have learned since the release of Project Cars 2, and in current titles that are currently in progress, which are yet to be announced. Some of the aspects from those we've obviously informed the Reza guys about, and some are evident here, and I imagine some are still planned to be implemented in. So it's just taking a relatively steady lap, because I haven't really driven this car all that much as of yet, but I can tell you that the force feedback is pretty damn good. I was very happy with the force feedback in Project Cars 2. Some people necessarily weren't, but for me it felt really good. One of the main strengths of it was the tyre feel and how you feel the grip building up, and then kind of the feel of the tyres giving up the grip and going over that limit, it's still very much present here. There's also a bit more road and surface detail as well. There isn't a huge amount of curb detail running over the curb there, but one thing that you've probably noticed so far is that the curbs are a lot less grabby here in AMS2 in comparison to how they were in Project Cars 2, and that was one of the things that we had discovered and information was shared about on how to deal with that issue. So yeah, lighting fantastic, force feedback to me feels absolutely fantastic. Obviously other creators have been putting out their videos, and so far things have been very, very positive on that side as well. People have been very, very happy there with the force feedback, and the cars feel really nice and direct and quite well planted. At the moment there isn't an option to adjust any setups, but yeah, the car feels pretty direct. You can tell when the car's getting away from you, you can catch it, but if you really do push it very, very hard, it probably will break away from you and find yourself in a spin. One thing that I have also noticed is that the effect of locking up the brakes is much more detrimental here in AMS2. It's much harder to bleed off the speed despite, well, when locking up the brakes. Although I don't think this car, it depends what assist it's got, I'm not entirely sure, but we'll try it here. Okay, yeah, so we got a bit of a wiggle there. But when I was testing the V8 supercar, it was quite evident the brake locking effect and how it was much more difficult to bleed off the speed. Obviously, the sounds are very much work in progress. It's a nice pop on the downshifts, as you can hear. There is what seems to be a car scraping sound that pops up every now and then, and there you can see part of the Project Cars 2 HUD elements with the split times. Also the penalty system as well seems very much the same, but no doubt the Reza guys will be tweaking and fiddling things as it gets closer to release. But things are looking very, very positive here. Cars feel good, lighting feels good, got a good selection of cars and tracks. Really nice force feedback. A lot of the stuff that the Reza guys were aiming to port over from Automobilista 1, I believe they have managed to do so and incorporate into the Madness engine. So it seems like they're very much taking the best of both worlds, as I never really actually played Automobilista 1, so it's a little bit difficult for me to get a true accurate representation and comparison there, but I have heard a lot of positive things from various players in the general AMS1 community. But I'll go quiet now and let you guys enjoy the car sounds for a lap or two. So we'll do one more lap. Imola's looking very, very good. Nicely detailed. Obviously, it's one of the more modern variants of the circuit with the updated curbs. They're a lot flatter with the yellow sausage or baguette curbs. Especially here in the chicane. And there you can see just the better handling on the curbing. The car feels really good. It does want to step out on you a little bit, especially if you're getting a little bit too hard on the throttle. Spun it there on that lap, on the previous lap, sorry. Just about managed to hold on to it that lap. I'm not actually sure how these cars handle in real life. I've never actually really watched them, but it feels like it has a bit of a spool differential. So when you do pick up the accelerator, it does want to oversteer quite heavily. But nonetheless, the feedback from the car. Oh god, big curbs there. It's really quite visceral. You can feel it coming through the steering and the force feedback, which is really, really nice. But it's really great to see what Reza have done with the Madness engine. See all the same sort of physics as Project Cars 2, but they've sprinkled their own magic, their own tweaks onto it to get the handling into where it is here. Just trying to see what my lap time is going to be, and I believe that was a 1:48. Not entirely sure how good it is for that car, but just taking a look around in the cockpit. The car details looking pretty good. Let's take a look at the car details on the outside. So the car model looks pretty good. The car sound, I think there's a few little niggly things that they can work and improve upon, but it's not absolutely terrible. Curb sounds really nice though, and internally the car sounds fantastic as well. But I think I'm just going to pretty much conclude it for this initial impressions video. I think I've near enough covered everything. There's a specific car and track combination that you would like to see in a future video. Drop it down in the comment section below. Let us know what you think from the gameplay that you have seen across YouTube and other various social media channels so far. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. It'll be very much appreciated. But otherwise, hopefully I shall catch you in the next video, and until then, have fun, stay safe and take care.